Hi all, and welcome to our first video. This is video 1 of 2 in the first week's learning module. Today I wanted to talk about what exactly content is. I think it makes sense for us to all have an operational definition, a common understanding of what content is, and I think that'll help us throughout the course. So what we'll cover today in this is really defining what content and content creation is. And then secondly, we'll take a look at who creates content. What is that role? How does that role differ from other people's roles? And what are the expectations of somebody who is a content strategist? So first, let's take a look at defining what content and content creation are. Here I'm going to use an example of one of the most popular websites around, and it is called BuzzFeed. If you're familiar with it, they're very, very good at creating content and creating it well. It's one of the top websites on the internet, and in fact, they have over 22 million visits per month, making it one of the top websites around. So as you can see, there are many different features on here. There's video. They cover a wide array of subjects from politics to technology all the way through food, sports, everything that you can really think of that gains interest. Now, with that, if you take a look at their website, what the original definition of content creation is really creating the stuff that's on your website. It's really as simple as that. Anything that is part of a website is the stuff that's on a website, and content creation is actually just creating that stuff. This is a definition that has worked well for a long period of time. But I think what we're finding these days is that's just not enough to really capture what's going on the web today. So we're going to get rid of that definition. And in fact, really the rise of social media and the distributed networks have changed the definition of what this is. So in addition to content on a website, what you'll find today is that there's content on places like Facebook. You'll find content on YouTube. You'll find video, and what we're also finding is that it might not even be hosted on your website or on your web properties like your Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube page. What you'll actually find is that people will take your content and put it on their own blog, so you'll have a guest feature on somebody's blog. Or there's places like Pinterest where people will actually take your content, aggregate it, and make a list of their favorite things for people to view. So where does that actually leave us when you consider places like the website, like your Facebook page, like your Twitter page, like your YouTube video page, and places like where people are actually taking your content and making it their favorites? So to expand upon that definition, we arrive to something like this. The act of content creation is creating, publishing, or generating materials that engages, attracts, and is consumed by your key audiences. This definition allows for the idea that it's elsewhere, it's not just your website, and what the actual goals of content are. And here, like I say, it's to engage, attract, and be consumed by your key audiences. So let's take a look at this definition in action, and going back to our idea of our example of BuzzFeed. And in fact, we talked about the 22 million before that come and visit a website, this BuzzFeed website per month. Now, if you actually totaled up the website, their social media platforms, and their syndication partners, what you'll actually find is that as a total, they'll have approximately 250 million content views per month. Now, what you can see is that 22 million per month has grown tenfold. So we really need to consider the new realities of a website. And in fact, you would be doing it a complete disservice, this BuzzFeed website, a complete disservice, if you didn't take into consideration their social media and their syndication partners. Otherwise, we're not really reaching our potential. So I'd like to use that as our operational definition for what content is throughout this course. This is something we can discuss. If you have any other ideas as far as what content creation is that isn't considered this definition, definitely please let me know. I'm very happy to expand upon this definition, and I think it would make sense for this definition to evolve throughout the course based on all of our common understanding. So secondly, who creates content and what do they do? A content strategist is the person who is responsible for your content, whether it's one project or for an entire content landscape. This means that what they're going to be doing is the following. The content strategist is the advocate for content throughout the team. We may have writers, we may have video professionals, we may have graphics designers, but the content strategist's role is to really be the person to shape this and really advocate for strong content among the other parties, to take people's specializations and together meld something that's really strong and has a good editorial sense and has a sense of the goals for the campaign. And in order to do that, the content strategist provides the background research and analysis in order to make smart decisions about the content. They really need to take a look at what's going on, what the needs are, and really create something that is really relevant and resonates with their audience that they're trying to motivate to action or have consumed this content. They also create recommendations for the content based on business and users' needs. Here I use business as really any organization or a party that is needing to have this content developed. And in this case, the user is the person who is consuming this material. So sometimes I'll use user, sometimes I'll use audience. It's really just the person that is consuming this content. And finally, they work with the organization to implement the content. So in addition to actually just creating it, what are the distribution channels? How does this content get out there? The content strategist is the person who really takes a look at where that audience is and how to get this content in front of them in the best way possible, in a way that achieves the goals, in a way that maximizes audience and views. So what does a content strategist actually do? What is the actual job description of a content strategist? And this is not a complete definition. This is just a basic idea of what a content strategist does. So a content strategist will gather, audit, and analyze existing content. Generally, we'll start with a basic idea of what content is. An organization will have old content, a business will have old content. And really, what a content strategist does is take a look at what's out there, what has worked in the past. Sometimes we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to go in a completely different direction. We can take cues from what has worked in the past. So there is a process in which a content strategist does that we'll, of course, be covering throughout this course, in really explaining how one would do that. Secondly, they really determine the project's requirements and potential content sources. We really need to define what the requirements of a project, which the contents of a content campaign are. And, in addition to that, they really need to take a look at what kinds of places or pipelines we can get content from. In addition to us creating it, there are people in organizations who might be good at one thing or another. There might be partnerships where you can create content together. They're looking for specific avenues for the content creation. Otherwise, they're just making stuff up. So your content should really be based in something, and that's one of their roles as well. They really also want to ensure that the team aligns on content objectives, assumptions, risks, and success factors. We need everybody to be on the same page because when they're on the same page, we're able to figure out if the content itself has worked, if it's meeting our goals, what this is supposed to achieve. And you can really define success that way if everybody is on the same page about what it's supposed to achieve. And they also shepherd content through the creation process. So from soup to nuts, a content strategist guides the content through this creation process, from conceptualization to what it looks like, to how you implement it, and also finally how you evaluate it to inform your work moving forward. And finally, what a content strategist does is ensure that there's a plan for maintaining and governing content post-launch. Ideally, if you've created good content, people are going to react to that content. So for instance, if it's something like a Facebook page, if there's good content, people will be leaving comments. So how does one actually maintain that presence, as people are reacting? How do you need to monitor that, and even things like police that? So ideally, you're creating content that people are going to react to. So how do you actually maintain that? If you're building a website, it's not enough to just launch it. What happens after that? Who is actually going to go through the content itself, make any edits, and keep that site alive throughout time? So those are kind of a sample of what a content strategist might do. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop here because we're at about 12 minutes. And the next video, video 2, is going to cover what is good content, what are the characteristics and qualities of good content, so that we all get on the same page about that as well. So I'll talk to you in video 2.